condensing traditional training into just less time. So there's less time and less rests between sets. And so you go into the next set kind of exhausted from the previous set because you didn't have enough recovery. You can get it done in half an hour instead of an hour, but it's really intense and it's still traditional reps. And nothing is really to complete muscle failure like we do. Yeah. And that's kind of part of our secret sauce. So half of it is the time under tension, where you're staying in contraction and not resting at all, including the tiny rests between the reps. So if you look at somebody doing a traditional training standing bicep curl, they're going to be doing pretty fast ballistic reps, and they're going to build momentum going up. So at the top of the range, when they head back down and change direction, there's no contracting going on because momentum carries it through the top. And then when they head back down, their muscle is actually relaxing at that moment, at the apex of that range of motion. And all it takes is a quarter second for the muscle cell to refuel. So essentially they're refueling between every rep. So for strength, it's pretty good. Yeah. But for endurance, it's lousy because you're refueling between every rep. And then you need to have another couple of minutes between every set to refuel. And so our time under tension doesn't allow for any rests, even a quarter second. So we don't go fast. We're going controlled motions, kind of like Tai Chi, but with resistance. So bands or carpet sliders or weights or light weights. But it has to be light weights because each exercise is 2 to 3 minutes of constant time under tension, as opposed to 15 seconds of quick reps like traditional training. So it's a whole different world. And you can probably imagine that staying in that time under tension without any rests for 2 to 3 minutes, at the end, you're cooked. And you cannot lift that same weight. It felt light when you started, but it sure doesn't after 2 to 3 minutes. And so then you reach complete muscle fatigue, which is strength training. Because when you reach complete muscle fatigue, that means that muscle cell, just speaking on an individual cell basis, that cell has run out of fuel and it can't contract anymore. So because it's emptied out the tank and it failed, then it says, gosh, I'm going to have to change because I couldn't do that. But if someone were to quit before that, where they still could do the last rep, then the muscle cell says, oh, I'm good. I could do it. Why change? It won't change unless it has to. So we're just showing the muscle cell that it needs to change. And with traditional training, where you're doing sub-maximal and you're not reaching failure at the end of the set, maybe the last set, if you're pushing really hard, but not the ones leading up to it, which is perfect, by the way, for bulking up. So if people want that, they should do that. But if they don't, if they want to get toned and defined instead, and not necessarily bigger, then they would be better suited for this time under tension.